stories. I mean, like I said, it's not all black people do that. You know, you have something to say, and you know, there's a lot of black gay people out there who are not represented. And with the whole drag thing, I think it needs to be a little bit more mainstream, because we still haven't yet had a black open gay drag queen on TV yet. You know, a lot of hostility in the black community is because we don't see black open gay artists out there. If P. Diddy turned gay tomorrow, I can guarantee you, you know, acceptance would rain down. You know, that's not happening yet. You know, they've got to make their money. You know, the black gay is out there, but until that kind of comes out a little bit. And again, I come from West Indian culture. My dad is Jamaican. I hate to reinforce these stereotypes. Again, musically as well, looking back, you know, hasn't been so accepting of gay people as well. So until they kind of, it's getting cleaner, but it needs to get a little more cleaner, you know, acceptance will kind of rain down a little bit.
And what's it like in Poland?
Well, I probably can't go as far as Damien, because for me it almost seems like, you know, my history almost starts when I arrived to London. Back at home, I'm actually from, it's quite a big city in Poland, and we have got still, at the moment, we have got one gay bar somewhere in a dark street, and you have to press the bell and they see you on CCTV, and then they decide whether to let you in or not. So, you know, when I was younger, I just, you know, knowing that I was gay, I would probably still try to deny it. No, it's not happening. So, kind of, like I said, for me, history almost starts when I arrived to London, because that's when I could actually be myself, and could actually even admit to myself and all of my friends, yes, actually, that's fine. I was still quite worried if I tell someone what's going to happen. And you know, I arrived here like 6 years ago, so I think the journey for me, the 6 years was like a huge step, I think. And from a guy from Poland who just arrived 6 years ago to 2 years after that's to still the same guy who starts working for a lesbian and a gay organisation. You know, I think it was a big step, and but some of the things that you are talking about here, that's just, you know, I wish I could be part of that, and I wish, you know, Brian, like you mentioned, the 80s, there wasn't anything like that in Poland, obviously, so for me for you it's history, for me it's quite new.
Got some
Still.
videos I'll show you.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the 80s, because I was born mid-80s, so we kind of got the backlog of HIV, you know, the kind of, that information was already out. I mean, I went to school in the, you know, the latter part of the 90s, and that was already out there. So it's interesting to kind of hear, you know, how that was perceived. I mean, the young guy was talking about his parents didn't even watch the advert, it just didn't affect, and that's quite new to me to even kind of find out about things like that. You know, and then again, I can name probably on one hand the amount of people I know who have it, you know, and it's kind of interesting to kind of hear, you know, hundreds of people. It's really weird.
Well, just having it now is even, I think, such a different thing.
Yeah,
It's a manageable condition, whereas in the beginning it was a death sentence. There was a lot of fear.
I've heard that
We didn't know. We didn't even know whether to get tested or whether not to. There were so many opinions about even how to deal with it. You know, it was we had to figure it out as we went along. You know.
I think it'll always be a very interesting disease because of its history and because of how easily transmitted it is for gay men by anal sex. So, where am I going with this? It took me down. I was going to go down anyway because I had my coming out and everything. My childhood was very traumatic. I got, you know, it's interesting. You said that being a black guy in a predominantly white area sort of saved you in a way from the extra homophobia might have got.
Yeah.
But being a white guy in a white area didn't save me. I got hammered, and I can share something beautiful now that happened a month ago, actually, and it was a most incredible and powerful thing. But the HIV and AIDS thing, I think even to this day, there is something about if people are dysfunctioning within themselves and they've got internalised homophobia and all sorts of things, if they become self-destructive and hateful, actually what you can do is take it out on yourself via unsafe sex and things. They can, so people can still use that virus as a way of like, and instead of sort of saying, I'll have safe sex, I'll blah blah blah, so often people can actually be destructive via that illness. And when it came along, I was in very poor condition because of all the bullying that I had at school. I was massacred at school. I was absolutely, it was horrendous. And so I'm a survivor of that, and truly, because it was, it don't get me anymore, it doesn't hurt me anymore, I had therapy and that's why I'm a therapist now. But during that time in the 70s, I went to school in the 60s and 70s, and I was a real fluffy thing. I didn't have to come out, I was born out, I had to go in a little bit like only a bit, because I tell you why, it's okay as long as it's kind of honest who you are, fluffiness,
Yeah.
But if it's a bit too much to say, like, if you're acting out something rather than being it.
Yeah.
So I was always a little bit too much, but my family was too, because we had this it was a very unhappy house, and a very unhappy gay boy in this house who got it at home and then went to school, got it at school, wallop, and so I learned how to just project at people to stop them from getting me. And if I sang them a song, if I told them a joke, then they wouldn't duff me up, and they did. And I left school and I was destroyed by that time. And then when HIV came, I was in such a bad place and such a bad state. I was 19. I had to leave home because of my dad, and everything. I couldn't come out, at home. And then this illness came. Nobody knew anything about it. No tests. No, you were going to die, and that was it. It looked like only gay people getting it. And for about 4 or 5 years, this was the case. You couldn't even find out if you had it. It didn't even have a name. I remember when it had no name. But I, being so damaged by all the other actions of other people, in my gayness, I was so damaged that I thought, well, I'm doomed. That's got me. I'll have that. That must be the thing that will take me out. And so I started to drink like mad. So it altered the course of my life, because I just became an alcoholic because I could not face any more shit. But very interestingly, I sorted all that out before I was 30, and I hadn't drank in years. I had a great life. And about a month ago, I was cruising, as you do in a bush, and over Scratch Woods, Boreham Wood, I returned to where I grew up, the scene of the crime, and I had a great time in the bushes with this guy, and another guy, and then I walked back, and he was by the car, and I was by his car, and I just sort of passed the time of day as 10 minutes later, and he said, Brian, I went to school with you 40 years ago. Wow. And I said, I thought my immediate reaction was, which one of the were you then? Which one of the were you that ruined my life, or tried to? And it turned out that he was in the year below. It's one of the most powerful things that ever happened to me. He was in the year below me, and he said, I saw what happened to you. And I waited 40 years to have a witness to that. I shouldn't tell people. Nobody wants to know. They don't want to know. They don't want to know then. They don't really want to know afterwards. And he saw it. He saw me being punched, kicked, spat on, bricks chucked at me, tried to push me in the pond, stole my shoes, buried my shoes. I couldn't play rugby or football with the lads. They sent me swimming. Get rid of them. With the were sent jogging and swimming. And he said, I saw what happened to you. And it was very powerful. And he said, I'm obviously he's gay, I've just fucked him. But he said, I was in the year below you. You knew my sister. And I said, I don't know how you know me. Look at me. And he said, there's still you there. I didn't remember him. And I said, what's happened to you in the last 40 years? And he said, I had a great life. I found a boy. I felt a bit for a few years, and then he's 46 now, 47, and he did all around the world, had a great career, And he said, what about you? And I said, I was on stage for 20 years and I'm a psychotherapist now and I've written some books and yeah, I for a bit in the early years and then I've been fine. And then we both looked, just, well, they never got us, did they? They never got us. And it was just so great that we met in the bushes cruising 40 years later. Both fit as fiddles and we didn't die because we always die in movies. Brokeback Mountain, blah, 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 blah. And even that new one with Colin Firth, he drops dead conveniently, and we don't all die. Some of us get old, and we're still here.
I've learned a lot. No, jokes aside, I have learned a lot. And do you know what? What I've learned about is age more than, because I turned 25 2 weeks ago. And for me, it's a bit of a milestone. I was panicking because, one, I won't be able to renew my young person's rail card next month, right? No, but even so, you know, I turned 25 and you look back and you do realise, you know, your own personal little bit that you've come. And hearing everybody else's stories kind of made me realise how much I've even come. You know, and hearing the bits and pieces from the 70s, from the 60s, HIV, you know, those things are very lost now. And, you know, people, and you know, people my age and younger, we do take that for granted. We do, and we don't realise the hard work that had come before that. So, and I say that because whenever you go out, it's never more reminiscent when you go out and you see people acting a certain way and you think, oh, you really don't understand why you're here and why we can do what we do, you know. So yeah, I've learned a lot. So thank you, everyone.
Fascinating, because I'm 50. I'll be 54 this year, and it's been really interesting to me to listen to young people like you because it's just as difficult as ever growing up gay in a straight world because we're brought up to be straight no matter what, you know. We don't have any mileposts, any guidelines. We have to figure it out on our own.